Hello, hello. I am rolling over my cord right now. Hi, Anna. Hi, Stan. Hold on a minute. I have literally rolled over my plug-in cord like the second I got live. How are you guys? Oh my gosh, I am excited. Hi, Diane. Hi, Sherry. Hi, everybody. I am literally like chill bumped up right now because I'm going to share this story and then we're going to get talking about the topic today. But I am taking my child to a Patriots game. If you're a personal friend of mine on Facebook, then you know that my kid is a freaking Patriots fanatic. And he was just dying to go to a game. And I kept telling him, I can't make it happen. You know, single mom, got other budget plans and all that stuff. And so basically one of my students and friends and members of the mentorship group, her husband worked for the NFL. And he got my kid tickets for his birthday this year. So anyway, I just got the seats and shared with him, and we're just really excited. So in the interest of, for those of you who may not know me, and is that I am pretty much wide open, transparent about my life. And my son and I have moved to a new city. I am newly divorced as of this past spring, but we experienced some significant trauma from betrayal and abandonment, and he is not in relationship with his father in any way. So this is an extra special time for us because we are in a new city. We have a holiday together as our new little family. He's getting to go to a game. I'm just really excited to be able to bring this to him. So I wanted to share that with you guys because it happened like 30 seconds before I popped on here live. So yay, very excited. Okay. So we are able to have a conversation here. We're in a meeting room. It's not webinar style. I'm playing with the whether or not I'm going to leave it this way or not. We're having some trouble on the back end with my team on using exportation for listing and all that kind of stuff. So for today, we're in conversation style, and we're going to talk about fear today. And I got a message. Hi, Chris. I'm happy to see you on here. How are you? And we're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to bring you in, and we're going to talk about your email. Okay. Are you okay with me reading a little bit about some of what's going on? You okay with that? Yeah? Okay. All right. So when the time comes, I'll tell you to unmute and we'll have a conversation. Now, I'm just going to read briefly, and first, let me say this to you guys. Before we can support and help each other with anything in this business or anywhere in our lives, we have to be willing to be vulnerable, open, and share the things that we struggle with. So, you know, again, it's why I share my story about what my son and I have gone through, because I believe that when we can share our story and we can show who we truly are, we attract the people in this world that are trying to elevate and raise their own love vibration. And we need it more than anything in the service of others. So that's my precursor to saying thank you to Chris for sharing what's going on with her today. So let me pull it up here. And she says she can't think of any specific questions she might have for this session, but she really goes into conversation about having insane amounts of fear that she's not good enough to do this. Imposter syndrome, big time. We're gonna unpack that one. She's been certified for over a year, hasn't started coaching, but is committed to getting her business up and running. So the fear is bubbling to the surface, right? Whenever we start to take action on something that scares us, of course, we're gonna get freaked out, right? So she's been getting signs and emails to face the fear of the universe at its finest, right? And so what I think is really interesting is this next part where she says that I read all the books on overcoming fear and deep down know that everyone has these fears and I shouldn't be so worried about being judged. But instead of focusing on the people who are cheering her on because they know how smart you are, she's focusing on the people that will judge, right? And knowing that the ones will judge have issues of their own they need to deal with, they're just projecting fears onto me. She already has the understanding about what is going on. So let's just talk about this. I'm gonna take it apart a little bit, and I'm not looking at the Zoom screen right now. I'm looking at the email because I want to speak to a couple things, and I don't want to forget what I'm looking at. Okay, so first of all, imposter syndrome. So here's what I want to say about that. Part of the reason why we feel this way, now I'm back on screen, I'm just gonna pop between the two. Part of the reason why we feel that way is because we feel like as someone that shows up in the health and wellness industry, we should look fit, have no health problems whatsoever, right? We should be this perfect, beautiful picture of health standing on I always say the beach in Bali. Maybe it's because I want to go there. But the point is, or maybe it's because all the fake people are out there, you know, that are like 19 years old doing life and business coaching and their daddy funded their business or holding a green smoothie or a juice drink. And they're like, contact me, I can help you. And that's what's being burnt into our minds, right? In this business, we're not showing up with a chewed thumb because of nervousness, and we're not showing up with bad hair. Everyone is presenting themselves in a way that they think other people want to see them. So when we feel imposter syndrome, I always say this, good. You know why good? Because it doesn't feel good to you to show up as anything other than you are. That's a good thing. Because in this world of health and wellness, you guys, we have to be the person that connects to people. And if we show up looking as or being someone that we are not, presenting ourselves inauthentically, I can tell you who you're going to get. You're going to get all the crazies out there that think that you're going to give them a magic pill to get them well. They're going to say, I don't really want any part of knowing why I should get well. Just give me the pill or the powder or whatever it is, and then I'll just do that. Okay, that's not sustainable change. It doesn't create connection or community. And then in 3 or 4 or 5 months, they're going to be back out there looking for someone else to give them something else for a quick fix, right? That's not what we're in the business of health coaching for. So when we feel like an imposter, it's because many times when we look around, I got to turn this off because my kid is blowing up my phone right now. In school, let me turn that off. Should be in school doing tests. But when that happens, you know, it's a sign to look at yourself and be glad and proud of yourself for not settling to be someone you're not. The key to being a good health coach and to being successful is to be authentically who you are. And I can tell you that I feel you 100% on this, because when I started coaching in 2009, I became a personal trainer. I had overcome a bunch of health problems, but I started doing the personal training and I was fit. Like, I looked fit, okay? Yay me. But guess what was going on inside of me? I was constipated. I was bloated. I was exhausted. I had all of these things happening because I was running to do one thing, to make sure I was the great mom picking the kid up from school and dropping him off, running in to do all this training and helping people with their health, going home to make all the meals for the week, and then going back to work and doing it all over again every day. So I was putting my body under so much stress, I cannot even explain to you. It's how I learned, and hi Shannon, I see you on here. It's how I learned about how betaine HCl with pepsin was a good way to reestablish stomach acid, because I was in hell every day. I looked fantastic on the outside, but my gut was rocking. So while people were asking me questions about how do I look so thin and fit and how do you stay so healthy, I'm like, oh, you know, it takes a lot of hard work. I'm going to die. I'm like, so what felt good to me was when I was able to say, listen, I'm still struggling with some things. I still deal with my own thyroid stuff. My autoimmune disease is not under control completely. I still have active antibodies, but I can help you, right? So one of the things I want you to keep in mind when you feel like an imposter is I want you to keep in mind is that's you wanting to be who you are, okay? And fighting against what's marketed to you right now. In this industry, you're being marketed that you can't have any problems and you need to be this way. And this is how you're only able to help people if you look like this, feel like this, use this product, and all of that stuff. When what we really need to do is turn around and look at ourselves and say, how do I want to show up in the world without the influence of anybody else? No other packages or prettiness or photography or fancy, you know, gadgets or you know, oils or hair products or anything else out there. How do I want to show up? And then the answer is that. You show up as that. Does that make sense, Chris, so far? So I want you to unplug yourself and I want to have a conversation about that. Because you know more than most people do already. You already know other people are projecting on you. You already know that you know enough and you have enough information, right? You have all of the answers. So if you speak, it'll pop up into my screen.
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
There you are. Okay, so tell me about that. Tell me about the imposter syndrome.
Just that I feel like I'm not good enough. I live in a small town, so a lot of people know me, but they don't know the details, right? Because I'm not an open book to everybody.
Okay.
I'm very, you know, private. So to put myself out there and say, hey, I can help you, freaks me out.
Okay. So stay there for a second, because I don't think it's the fear that you don't know enough. I think it's the fear that you have to show up and share some of those things that you never have before. And so that's a vulnerability issue. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you have a fear of being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So then the question goes like this. So if you want people to come to you to help you with their health, they're going to come to you with what? They're going to talk to you about their poop. They're going to talk to you about their periods. They're going to talk to you about their relationships. They're going to talk to you about their gut, right? That's vulnerability.
Yeah.
Okay, so
right.
How can we attract vulnerability if we're unwilling to be vulnerable to others?
Great point. You attract
Okay.
what you put out there.
Yes, exactly. So the reason, in my opinion, and just from reading that, you're being vulnerable, right? So you know that you can be, because you expressed it here. But if you know that that is a growth place for you to learn how to be vulnerable, and know that's such an integral, important part of building trust with people, then you need to go after why you are not able to feel vulnerable, right? That's what I would be going after. It's not necessarily fear of the work or the knowledge or anything. I think it's fear of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Then we look at it and we say, okay, so what happened, or where did that come from that made you feel that it's an unsafe place for you to be vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
Has nothing to do with your knowledge. Where did it come from? A spouse, a mom, a dad?
Yeah, I would say mom, dad.
Okay.
And nothing they ever specifically said. I think it was just more how we grew up, right?
Yeah. So did you have a perfectionist in your family?
I had a workaholic in my family.
Perfectionist then.
Yeah.
Because workaholics are perfectionists, because they're not going to stop until it's done. And that's just a symptom of, I don't want to deal with something else in my life. Any aholic is an addiction. It's no different than, when we think about addiction, we always think, oh, alcohol and drugs. We never think work, gambling, shopping, exercise, the things that could be good for us. All of those things are a form of not facing the truth, right? And you probably know all of this, or facing what's going on in our life. So if your dad was a workaholic, there must have been some dysfunction going on in the marriage or in the house. You're smiling,
Yep.
so it's happening there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so was your mom the codependent to the workaholic?
No, she was the workaholic.
She was, okay, so then you had a flip flop. So it was mom that was a workaholic. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then there's dysfunction, discord in the relationship. And sometimes what happens when we grow up in these kinds of environments, and we're trying to get our needs met as children, we're not supposed to understand all of that stuff, right? We may have an episode or a moment in our life where we show vulnerability to them, and then we get rejected for it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that feels like complete abandonment, complete rejection. So then what do? We either become a AAA personality like me, doing cartwheels out in the yard and saying, look at me, or we go, I guess I can't ask, it's not safe for me. See?
Yeah.
So that doesn't fix itself. It shows up in our lives somewhere. Mine showed up in a marriage where I became my mother and was codependently cleaning my house so I didn't have to deal with the dysfunction of my marriage. But it wasn't a healed situation until I brought it to my own attention and went, oh my God, that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't get my needs met either. Most of us didn't get our emotional needs met as children. And it's not to say, because I noticed the first thing you said was, well, they never said anything like that. They didn't say it wasn't their fault. You're automatically accepting the blame for their dysfunction by saying it wasn't their fault.
Yeah, you're right. True.
Yeah. But the thing is it was their fault. They just didn't mean to do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we believe everyone's trying to do the best that they can. At least we should believe that to be true, because they're only doing what they learned and only what they learned and all of that. Right. And one of the things I think is really cool that we all get to acknowledge these things and learn about them is that if we have children or even grandchildren, we have the opportunity to make this stop right here. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I share this story, many times, that one of the first things my son said was, I will not turn out to do those types of things to anyone in my life. So he even recognized the value of that. Right. But then I had to own my stuff in it and say, oh my God, I don't know what I was doing. I'm sorry for this, this, and this. It was a release from the parent to the child, but you didn't get that. See?
Yeah.
So again, back to fear of being vulnerable means someone might see you and then not meet your need and then reject you again. See?
Yeah. So
Okay.
but how do you get past that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
of course I do. I've been working on myself for years on this stuff and failing and coming back and failing and coming back. You work on that. You try to, so it's called a core belief or a programming. Some people call it, they say core beliefs and programming, attachment styles, whatever it may be. You have to go back and it's reparenting. It's reparenting yourself because, are your parents still alive, by the way?
Yeah. My mom has Alzheimer's, so.
Okay. Are they married still?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't really have a conversation with them. And even if you even if they were no longer here. I was just talking to my mom about this last night. I was literally talking to my mom about something going on with her and my dad, and her saying, well, you know, my mom and dad are no longer here. I said, Mom, they don't have to be here for you to fix what happened to you as a child. You have to find a way to reassure yourself that you are now a grown-up in this world that you're living in. Okay. But anytime that you start to go out and make that business grow, you go back to whatever age it was that you were rejected for what you were looking to do. Be vulnerable. Yeah. Okay. So how do you do that, right? One of the things that was super powerful for me when I first learned about the concept of attachment and core beliefs and all of that was I would go out and find that kid, you know, that little kid of mine that was fearing abandonment and rejection and all of those things that we learn from not getting our needs met. And I would just basically tell her, you know, I would see her on a bus, and I use this explanation a lot, so those of you who are in my classes and stuff understand and know and heard the story. But I see her driving this bus, okay? And in the bus is this little girl, and I have this white hair. I grew up with white hair. This happened during menopause. I don't even know what happened to my hair. It curled and turned brown. But I always have this bright white hair, and I'm wearing a nightgown, and it's got a satin bow around the neck. There's a picture of me from childhood with that on. And she's driving this big freaking yellow bus, right? And she opens up the door, and I see her as the grown-up. I see her, and on the bus in every seat is some adult problem, right? Finances, fear of success, fear of not having success, divorce, you know, sexual relationships, all of the things we as adults are dealing with. And what I always say to her, and I still have to do this is for life, by the way, there's no magic pill for us either. But I say, so you need to just come off of that bus. Okay, because you don't belong there because you can't reach the pedals or whatever it is I feel like saying in the moment. And I say, you go out and play. I'm going to get on there and I'm going to drive this thing because I'm capable of doing that for you, right? And you know what's so interesting? If you can really allow yourself into that position of adult with your own child, reparenting yourself, and just let it happen. You don't force it. You just let the visualization happen. I always have to close my eyes when I'm doing this. I watch myself go, oh, thank God. And I leap off of there and I'm off running to play kickball or whatever it was that I loved to do when I was a child. And then I get on there and I take that position, right? So even allowing the child to see the adult take the position. And this can sound like a bunch of woo-woo. I usually lose people around this time, but that's okay. The point is that you are creating different pathways in your brain, and you're rewiring those neural pathways that we're all learning about now, even though it's been going on for centuries and years, right? We've been studying the brain. And you're changing that pattern and that habit that you've got of fearing rejection if this happens, right? Yeah. So it takes time. There's no magic button. No one's going to fix it for you. No amount of course or classes or training or list building or bullshit is going to fix this. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about it is it's yours to fix anyway. Right. So you have to face, so another question that comes up for you is this: why am I afraid to face that? Why don't I feel I'm worthy to go out and fix this problem? Because that's what's going to come up. Like, we're going to hang out today and you're going, oh, I hate she showed me myself. I didn't want to see that. And then you're going to be like, I'll go get my kids. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And then tomorrow morning when you sit down at your computer ready to build that business, you're like, shit, here I am again, back with myself. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're going to show up in your life with problems, and they will not go away until you understand that you are the one that can fix them, and you do the hard work of doing so. And this is what I love also. We opened up the HeartLink group for health and wellness industry for all of us to get back to our hearts and start, serving people from a heart-centered place again. But it always is going to start with us. If you don't start serving yourself from a heart-centered place and giving yourself the love and attention and all of those things that you deserve, it's going to be really hard for you to extend that into your business, and mostly impossible. You can do it on a fake level, but it never is a sustainable practice. And I'm seeing people falling apart all over the place with this, and it's interesting because, and Shannon can tell you, she's part of my team for the Institute. She'll tell you that, everybody in our space and and I don't say competition because I don't like that word, but the people that you might see as my competition for coaches or whatever, everyone's got the next greatest, best, shiny thing for you to do to build your list and show up and do all of this, right? Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is when by the time they come to me or we get them in the school or whatever, they've got more training, more knowledge, more certifications than many practitioners and doctors have, and not one client and no way to get there. And why? Because we always uncover the problem of some limiting core belief or programming. it's always going to return to that, right? Yeah. Then one of my favorite stories, and Shannon knows this, is we know I had a client. I mean, one of the students became a client, so I could coach her, so I could show her, everyone how to do a client intake. And she said, my life's not that exciting. I really don't have a story. And Shannon knows this, so boy, should we know this well. And I said, great. Well, even more of a challenge for me to find out why you're not feeling well. No, I feel great. My health is good. I'm not overweight. I'm I'm like, okay, great, fine. Send the intake form. Well, my intake form's 26 pages long. I got that form. Oh my gosh. When we held the session, we uncovered like thyroid problems, weight problems, joint problems, relationship problems. But what we did is we tracked it all the way back to sexual abuse as a child, dysfunctional relations in the family, all of that stuff. I mean, it was really an interesting session. A couple weeks later, I guess it was probably 8 weeks later, I got a message from her. By the way, I've dove deep back into therapy, working on my relationship with my husband, like all of those things, right? So I'm not your person to tell you how to build a list. We're not going to talk about all that stuff. We're going to talk about the stuff that's going to get you over the hump. And I truly believe that after I read your message 4 times before I just kind of read it out loud again, just to feel it, because I'm really good about getting instinct from messages and just learning, like, what do I see here? I just think your fear is being vulnerable and fear of rejection, because if you're vulnerable by putting yourself out there and saying, this is my health story, I've been on a journey similar to yours, I can help you, they come to you. What if they don't hire you? That's rejection. Yeah. And you don't want to feel that all over again, right? Mm-hmm. But correct. That's right. But that also turned us back to this. We don't need validation from anybody else in our lives except ourselves.
Right. And again, you know these things, but it's just, you're right. I have stuff to work on way back in the past.
Right. So when you do that though, and this is another great thing. I mean, when I talk to people about this stuff, sometimes I see them go, oh my God, but I say, no, this is great, right? Because when we get to acknowledge that, that's the very first step in rewiring. You can almost see it like laying down a train track, right? One little piece of information, like me saying, I think you're afraid of being vulnerable. That's one little piece of wood, right? For the train track. And that's the start of the new pathway of moving away from the old one. So if we're open and we have our minds open and our hearts open and we can see the truth about it, that's the beginning of it. I mean, my life has been a shit show for 2 years. And you know what's funny about it is that when I started to be able to say, okay, thank you for this, and thank you for that, and thank you for this, all the bad stuff, right? Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the betrayal. Thank you for in fact, when the name of a book I was going to write, if had my marriage worked out, was, I was going to write a letter. It was going to say, my husband's mistress saved my marriage. So even when he came home, this was before I learned about all the other ones, and I thought there was hope, I was already thanking the situation for the growth that I knew I had to go through. Didn't make it any less painful for me to wake up and go, there's that feeling again, not good enough, abandoned, rejected, less than, self-worth, blah. But that was like a little piece for me that said, I can accept that this happened. I can be grateful for this thing that's going to show me, open up my doors. And by the God, that when he finally did walk out, if for good, my freaking skull cap blew off with all the awakenings. Every day I was like, whoa, there's another lesson and another one. Oh my God. And then I had no choice but to take them all as being here to help me, to help me move forward and to move on. You cannot fully evolve into the great person that you want to be for others if you can't be that great person for yourself.
Right.
So the question becomes, how much of Brene Brown have you watched on the power of vulnerability? Right?
Oh, a lot.
Okay. So I've read most of her books 2 to 3 times. I've probably watched the vulnerability TED Talk. I don't know how many times. Read, all of it, right? Because it wasn't enough the first time because it was too painful. The second time I was in denial. I'm like, I am too vulnerable. Yes, I am. And no, I wasn't. Not at all. Not in any capacity. In fact, my ex used to say, you can't just be vulnerable, can you? And I'd say, you don't make it safe for me to be so. So again, almost 18 years in a marriage of me in denial, codependent, I can't be vulnerable, I'm going to be rejected, blah, blah, blah. That had to happen for me to come to the place of knowing that all the validation I need is from myself. Has to come from here.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? What's your next step?
What's my next step? Well, obviously daily I'm taking steps. Yesterday I hired a business coach. Today I sent you an email that, I never would have sent. So stepping out of my comfort zone, realizing, but I like the whole school bus analogy though. That was great. I will definitely try that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I look back at my childhood and I don't think it was, like I said, they never said anything, but what you absorb as a child is huge. You don't realize how much you take from it.
Yeah.
So,
and also, let me just say that we have to remember that just because nothing catastrophic happened doesn't mean it wasn't traumatic to the extent of a catastrophe. Yeah. We know people, and we have to remember, we know people who have been sexually abused. They're running freaking multi-million corporations and great marriages with happy families for real. But they had to do the work to get there, right? So it doesn't mean that whatever traumatized your nervous system isn't just as painful as a sexual abuse story or bullying or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So one of the first things that we do, and like you said earlier, well, they didn't, they that, do this, we're protecting the people because we don't want to be rejected by them again. That's another childhood thing that you're doing, is to say, oh, okay, I'm 5 again. Well, they like I said, they didn't mean to. Okay, but the grown-up woman might say this, you know what they did? That sucked. And now here I am as an adult having to fucking fix this. This sucks, right? Mm-hmm. That's okay. And that's a grown-up way to respond to something that's holding you back. So it's another step to say, I will no longer make excuses and protect the people who should have been protecting me as a child. Yeah. I'm going to step into my adult shoes and say, that was terrible. It didn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. But now I'm a grown up and I don't have to respond that way anymore. It's just back and forth parenting with yourself, Yeah. Tell me about the business coach you hired. What do you expect to gain from that?
I expect to be pushed out of my comfort zone, and a lot of technical, like funnels, stuff like that. She'll help me set up guidance. And I know her. She lives close to me. So I feel comfortable with her, and I think I can be vulnerable with her. Great. I did look at other coaches, and I'm like, I don't know if I can be completely open with you.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, that's a great way to even look at yourself in this situation. So I'm just going to make a suggestion. When you guys start working together, the funnels and the technology and all of that stuff is secondary, right? Yeah. Because that's just, again, technical things that have to be put into place and dropped in copywriting and all of that. And when you are trying to create and to learn technology and writing and appeal to people, and you haven't yet addressed those unaddressed problems, it's really hard to show up as yourself, and that's going to be shown in your copy. Okay. Yeah. So when we're doing funnels and emails and all that, we want to show up exactly as we are. Like I wrote my email today reminding people, like, hello, it's me. It really is me, because I don't always write my emails, but today I did. And you can always tell when a little goofy me shows into some of my writing, right? And so just encourage you to try to focus on some of those things to get out of that comfort zone again, but focusing on the vulnerability and asking her to be your safe person, and then worry about the other stuff later if you can, Yeah. Because as you uncover your true self, that's really going to show up in your business. Yeah. Yeah. And with funnels and writing and all that, like even if someone's doing the writing for you, have your eyes on it until you feel that they know you. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I had somebody I hired at one point, and she had me looking like some person that she was like, I've helped millions of coaches and made hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, I didn't do any of that. That's not gonna work. No. So we had to go back, and I said, this is more realistic. I've helped hundreds of clients, right? Because it didn't feel good to me to show up like that, Right. Yeah. So
yeah, you want to be real.
That's right. But if you don't even know who that is, how can you do that?
Right.
Because who are you without the fear?
The thing is, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but you bounce back and forth between, you know who you are, but then you come to this place where you go, oh my God, I can't be that person here. Mm-hmm. So, because I know when we leave town, I'm like, if we go away on holiday, extended holiday, I can turn into a completely different person and love it and feel so good. And then, and then there's also the dips, right? Where, I don't know, menopause or whatever. gets a
Mhm.
little crazy. So,
Right.
you know, you got to dig yourself out of that hole that you've created.
Yeah. Yeah, and that can be difficult, and I feel you, because it's one of those roller coaster rides you wish you could just get off, and you just want the one that really rolls and is fun and it's all fantastic.
Right.
But yeah, and so I don't know if you were on that last week, but when we did the coffee appointment last week, I'm drinking water today. I've had enough coffee, but you know, I talked about the ego and the heart. And so no matter what decision you're making or what circumstance you find yourself in or where you go for holiday or who comes into your world, whatever it is, how you decide to show up is coming from one of two places. You're either coming from your ego or you're coming from your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say that you're going, and I don't know if you're married or anything, but let's say you're going to in-laws. Let's say you're going on holiday to the in-laws. God bless you, I ain't got to do that no more. But you're doing that and you're like, oh, you know what? But at least it's a break from facing my own stuff. I get to be happy, and we're going to have wine, we're going to have good food, and we're going to play games. It's going to be a good time, right? So that's all great until you start to get dressed and you wear the right clothes for the in-laws and you make the right food for the in-laws and you make sure that everybody has a nice glass of wine, everyone's taken care of. That's the ego, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When it's the heart, it's, I don't care what I show up as. All I care about is connecting, getting personal with people. I mean, we could be, you know, we wouldn't eat fried chicken or anything like that, but I'm just saying all of that stuff is secondary to connection, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot more energy to come off of an ego trip. You know, we've heard that, the ego trip, right? Than it is to stay centered and be yourself, even if it's uncomfortable. Then you come home and you're still that person. You're like, then the fall off of the ego isn't as painful, and the picking up the pieces isn't that hard. And so the challenge becomes, how do you show up as yourself all the time? It's not easy. It's not, but it requires one thing. And that's to be present in your life, in the moment you're in it, every moment. I mean, even, you know, have you ever seen that movie? Oh my God, is it not Groundhog Day? No. It's What About Bob? Have you seen that movie? What About Bob?
I don't think so.
Okay. Has anybody seen the movie What About Bob? Okay, thank you, Shannon. I can count on somebody in my age group, right? Like I'm 48. What About Bob was one of my favorite movies. He wears it. It's Bill Murray, and he's like attached to his therapist to tell him how to live his life, and he's so attached. He needs that therapist like right there to help him live his life in every moment because he's so anxious. He's got all these problems. And he wears a goldfish around his neck with a bowl. And he takes this bus. My dog's about to cough. Hold on. You gonna make it, Roscoe? And so anyway, he does this thing and where he's getting on the bus to go find this doctor who's on a holiday. And he says, baby steps to the bus, baby steps to the bus, baby steps to the elevator. He has to tell himself baby steps to everything because he's such a nervous dude. Like he cannot even function. That's what it's like to get present. Right? Mm-hmm. So even if it's like, I had 2 minutes to go live on a webinar. I was teaching doctors today how to bring health coaches into their practice. And I was presenting. It was like 2 minutes until I was supposed to start. And something happened to the slide or something. I was like, oh my God, I could feel my heart going like, shah. And then I went, it's just a slide. It's just a slide. It's just a slide. Like that's what I have to do to get back into my body, right? Yeah. Because it's so easy to flip out and not get present. So as you're learning to stay in yourself and come from that heart-centered space, which is the only space we have to come from, right? In reality, you're going to have to do that. And one of my tricks I used to teach to my clients is I used to say, I want you to learn how to get present in your life. And they're like, what the hell does that even mean? I'm like, when you're brushing your teeth, say, brushing my teeth, brushing my teeth. And you can try this. This is an action step for anyone who struggles to get present, because if you are saying what you're doing, you cannot be anywhere else.
Yep.
Drinking my water, water. See? Yeah. So until it becomes a habit to return to yourself and to calm your nervous system down and to get present, you might just have to say, not combing my hair because I don't care what my mother-in-law says, not combing my hair, I don't care what she says, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do, it's just work. It's work, but it's work that's elevating you beyond what 80% of Americans are doing, or people for that matter today in our world, is they're scooting out of their hearts, they're moving into their ego, they're losing connection, present momentness. None of that matters because it's always about what the world thinks of me. Mm-hmm. And that's all core shit. It's all coming from childhood, Yeah. And isn't it true though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true. And it's great to hear someone else say it, because you can say it all in your head, but then there's that part of you that goes,
Yeah, but it's
yeah,
true, and you know it. Your whole email, that could be you. You could be me telling a client exactly what you're saying. You know what to do. It's just a matter of making it a habit and finding out, and again, like, here's the other thing too. If you fall off the wagon of self-love, just fall off and then go, oh shoot, I'm down on the ground again. Oh my gosh, there's the wagon. I don't even know where that came from. Like, did drunk people fall off wagons back in the day? Is that why they call it that? Like, they'd get drunk and they're going on. Is that where that came from? The caravan? Anyway, but if you fall off and you see it and don't kill yourself over it. Just say, yeah, I know how to get back up there. It's okay that I'm down here for a minute. Look how pretty the flower is over there in the dirt. Whatever it is, but self-judgment and all of the stuff that comes with that, the shaming yourself and the guilt and the judging yourself, that's just going backwards, right?
Yeah.
Accepting that everyone does this and everyone comes from this space at some point. That'll give you your little kick in the ass to get back up again and be like, okay, that sucked, but now I learned that I can still fall off and still be a great person,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm on the wagon. I'm on the wagon. I'm on the wagon.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. I'm on the wagon. I'm getting on the wagon. I am getting on the wagon. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
And I have to, I think that we all have to do that if we're honest. Nobody's perfect. We're just human beings trying to make it in this world. And if we could all go back and try to reparent ourselves the way that we wish that we would have gotten parented, if we could do it that simple, the world would be a great place, right?
Yeah.
But to have this industry that we work in and have access to people's pain the way that we do, and I teach trauma and all of spirituality and trauma and all that at the school, but to be able to be somebody that shows up in other people's lives like this, and if we just keep doing that work, we're going to be able to help them to help their own kids so that this cycle of crap can stop that we're all stuck in.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's this generation, right? It's like, I see this like 35 to like 60-ish age where everybody's just all mucked up, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. And I tell this story to my mom all the time about an ancestral trauma and what we're carrying around. Sometimes it's not even ours. Sometimes it's from something else so long ago that we don't even know isn't ours,
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to my mom about that. My mom's awesome. I'm gonna bring her on. Sometimes she pops in when she comes by to like visit or something, but her mom was the product of rape. She was raped by a farmhand. And for so many years, my grandmother didn't know this until she was like in her 70s or something, that her mom wasn't her mom, right?
Wow.
And if my mom and I have sat down and talked about these things, we're like, oh my gosh, maybe that's why you feel this way and I feel this way and my sister feels this way and our niece feels this way. It's that lineage of abuse or whatever. You can take things really far back when you're discovering this stuff. And I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
You're going to have this. You've got this. I mean, if you got somebody you can be vulnerable, you just tell her straight up, I know enough about health. I don't need to learn anything else. I just need to be able to be safely vulnerable with you so that I can shine as the person that I am and show up as who I want to be, because I don't have a fear of anything else except being rejected.
Right.
So, yeah.
Rejected in public speaking.
Well, that's just because you're afraid of rejection there too. It's not a separate thing.
True. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's all combined. Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
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 Perfect.
I mean, I mess
Thank
up
you.
all the time. Yeah. And I don't usually, I said fucking shit in this already, but I used to not cuss at all.
That.
Yeah. And I used to not cuss at all. And because there's someone out there in our space that she uses it every second word. And it's so just gross. It's like an attention thing. Sometimes there's just no better word. And so that's part of me showing up as my authentic self too, is if I feel like that's going to put the exclamation point on, I'm going to use that word. You know what I mean? But the first time I ever was vulnerable enough to use words like that in a recording that I know the whole world could see or whatever, I must have kicked myself in the ass 100 times. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Oh my God, why did I do that? I gave myself a really hard time about it. And then I went, because that's what you wanted to do and that's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's why. Perfect. Okay. Right?
Excellent.
Yeah. So you're going to have those moments too. The first time you go live or the first time you show up to speak somewhere. I mean, you're going to say something or maybe a hair is going to stick out from the side and you're going to see a video and be like, oh, why did I do that? I mean, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you just are kind to yourself about it and walk through it, it's not going to have that control over you again.
Okay. Yep.
See?
Makes sense. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. What's everybody else got going on today? Oh, what about Bob? Yeah, we do have other people with What About Bob. That's so awesome. Yeah. And so, let's just touch on fear a little bit more too. And just remember this, that it's not isolated to, to fear of growing your business or fear of live talks. Fear is just a thought. It's just a word that shows up in us when we're afraid to look at anything else that has to do with it, right? I mean, that has to do with a success or with failure or whatever it is. Everything always comes right down to how were you raised? Were your needs met? If they weren't, how can you get them met so you can show up exactly as you are? So simple, but so hard, right? It's just so hard. And, it really involves being honest with ourselves too, because we can absolutely say, I'm vulnerable. I don't have any fear. Nope, not at all. But it's going to show up in some way. It's going to show up in our health. It's going to show up in our finances. It's going to show up in some way. So when we're dishonest with ourselves, it shows a dishonest view to the world. It shows up in our life, in our body with disease or problems or whatever. So let me see here. Where's Shannon say, Maria, you can unmute. And then when she is done talking, who has a question? Maria, what you got?
I do, and I can turn back on my video. I have another thing and 15 minutes. I think, we can get through it then. But so you said, Carmen, that we can ask anything that we need here, right?
Yeah.
All right. And owing to the whole vulnerability thing, this is something that I normally would just share directly with you. But I mean, I guess I'm practicing what you're preaching.
Yeah. Go for it.
I have a Facebook group where it's practitioners that I've taught a test. You know about that group. And
yeah.
So I was encouraged by you, and I like the idea as well, to keep the group open and to make it community support. And, I know that there are Facebook personalities. Like some people are very giving. They always want to comment and help. And some people are just lurkers. And I get that. Right.
Yeah.
But, and I even told them, like, don't tag me. You guys support each other in this group, because right now, I'm not like really pushing out the course, but I wanted to keep you guys in touch with each other. So I do like that. Well, couple of things, Carmen, like at the end of the course, I asked everyone to fill out like a feedback form, and I got, certainly everyone did not do it. I got maybe 25% of the people to do it. Mm-hmm. And I recently posted a very, very simple question in the group. And the question is, hey, just checking in, how many tests have you done? Have you done, I did a poll. I've done 1, I've done 3, I've done 5, I've done none, but I'd like to do some. And now out of the 60 people that are in that group, only like 15 people responded. And I have to be perfectly honest with you, and this is where I feel like this is vulnerable, and I may sound a little bitchy or just, a little petty, and I hope I don't come across that way, but
it's okay if you do.
What's that?
It's okay if you do. There's no judgment.
Thank you very much. But I feel like, like I'm keeping the group open for you guys. I am going in and answering questions. I am occasionally getting on a live video to explain things that are really wordy and would just take more time to type out. Like I am still kind of caring for you guys and showing up. And then I come into the group and I ask like for you to literally click and take a poll, and 15 out of 60 people did it. And honestly, I feel like bitchy about that. I want to go and say, hey, if you can't answer a simple question, you don't belong in this group. But I need to put a little more sugar on that. It doesn't sound very nice.
Okay. So let's unpack that. I'm going to tell you, hold on. I wrote something down.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I have like a hard stop at 1:30. I have
You're
to
good.
show up.
I got you. Okay. Have you ever heard of WIFM?
No.
Okay. It's called What's in It for Me. WIIFM, WIFM. And I learned that term last night because I've heard What's in It for Me, but I've never heard it like that.
I'm writing that down, by the way.
Write it down. Okay. Judy at Trinity Holistic Health School was like, WIFM, and we were talking about this conversation, right? So here's the thing. When we are in this space that we're in, where we have, thousands of people, we've got 16,000 lists, 20,000 people on our list, tons of followers, we're out in the world, we're trying to make a difference. when we feel this slighted feeling that you're feeling, because I get it, I felt it too. I'm like, listen, you 6,000 health coaches, I'm out here busting my ass to help you, and you can't even answer a poll, right? That's a what's in it for me with them attitude, okay? And what that means is when you're when you put that poll out there, you probably you wanted to get some feedback. You're like, I want to know, like, I want to make this better. I want to right? But it's also when you feel like someone should react or behave a specific way to meet your needs, that's coming from your ego.
But aren't we there to help each other?
If they want it. But it's not up to you to tell them that they're not, it's not, if you want the help, right, then it's the presentation needs to change. So it might be something like this. Hey, you guys, I hope everyone's enjoying this group. I really want, and speak from your heart, right? I really wanted to keep it open because connection is really important to me, blah, 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 da, da, da. I could really use your help. And it seems like I'm struggling to get some feedback here. But the feedback is really going to be a great way for me to help people moving forward. Could you please provide some information below, make it fun, whatever it is you got to do. And just, and I can promise you this, no one's not responding because of you. They're not responding because they're like, oh, okay, well, 15 people answered that poll. I'm going to scoot past. I don't have time. Or did she put a poll in there? Where was I saw that poll in that? Where was that? Right? I mean, we all are inundated with technology. It's all over the place, right? But if you can put a post out there that you feel good about and the way that you delivered it feels good to you, you have to get detached from the outcome. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's the non-whip-em mentality. I'm not doing this for me to see what I can get. I'm doing this because it's going to help others in the long run. And this
but yes, I hear you. But that was sort of like, I think the keeping the group open was nothing was in it for me. In fact, actually what was in it for me is more work.
Right. But if people don't see the value, then something about the energy of the group needs to change. Maybe the posts need to change. Maybe the language needs to change. Maybe you can ask them, how can I make this more valuable for you? And nobody wants to know that it's more work, and nobody wants to know what you're putting in. None of that. You know that. You don't put it out that way. But if they don't know what you need in order to improve things by you asking them, how do they know how to respond, right? It's that old, we teach people how to treat us thing, right? Yeah. So when you put it out there that this is a way for me to be able to help more people, I would love your feedback. You're an integral part of the success of helping other people, and your language makes sense to them, you're going to get those responses. And you can even say, I know you're busy and you're part of all these groups, but this is so important to me. I mean, do a live video on it. Go in and say, I'm going live on this day. People want to have that communication, right? Who's talking to you? Yeah,
yes,
a lot of them.
Anita, actually, they have seen it. I can literally see, like, who has seen it. And that's only how I know. And that's actually kind of adds to my angst. It's like you saw it, but you didn't respond.
Yeah. Oh, I've got someone right now that's a student that's defaulted on like thousands of dollars for payment. And she sees my messages. I've seen her see my message, like, how would you like to resolve this problem before I have to take this further, right? And then she saw the next one and the next one. And I'm like, okay. So I feel you on that. When somebody sees something like that and it's affecting something, you're like, what? But but again, let me just use that as an example. When I would see that she saw that, I'd be like, okay, if that's, we're going to play cat and mouse, that's all right. I'm going to write you back. And then I let it go. And then the next time, a couple days later, I'm like, I should probably check that again. Look at it again. You have to not get married to outcomes, and you have to be able to let things go, or this business is going to eat us up.
So don't chastise anyone for not answering.
That's right. That's the answer. But maybe change the wording a little bit, maybe just check in with them and say, don't call anybody out. Don't chastise.
No, I wouldn't call specific people out.
Yeah.
No.
But just let them know, listen, I need some help. That's your vulnerability action step, is you're asking for them to support your efforts in making this world a better fucking place. What more do you need? Click the button. No, please click the button. Right.
Yeah. I guess it also kind of bothers me that, there are people in there that are very helpful. And, I have that core group of people that they answer questions like me, knowing they're not going to get anything out of it except to be good to another human. And then there are a group of people in there who they just take. They never communicate or anything like that. So just kind of give them grace and let them coexist there.
Yeah, because again, if we try to determine how someone else responds in any situation, whether it's a Facebook thread or a phone call or a meeting or whatever, if I got married to the idea that Chris is going to hang up here and be like, that woman she's insane. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and tell my other health coach friends that she's insane. If I sat and tried to expect or get married to or worry about the outcome of anything in my life, anything, that's just a recipe for misery.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can see that as a gratitude thing, and the blessing of the insanity of my life is that I learned a couple of things. One, I don't fear hardly anything anymore. Because when the worst thing you ever can imagine besides losing a child happens to your life, what the hell else is there to be afraid of? So I just don't have a lot of fear anymore. But then I also learned that it's not that you can't trust anyone, because people said that to me all the time. When they learned in my little community that I was in, oh my God, I can't trust anyone. If this happened to you, I'm like, it's not that. It's that I had an expectation and I thought that the outcome would be something else. That was my own misery right there. Right?
Okay.
And it always comes back to being present. So if people are out there taking, then they need to take. They need to. Something in them is desperately seeking something. And so with that kind of thing, I'm like, I send even more love to people who take and take and take. Right? Because I'm a big fat giver. I would rather give. I didn't open one gift until I watched the kids like open all their stuff the other day. I'm like, whoa, I was so excited. Right?
Yeah.
But when I got my gifts and I opened them up, it was with an open and grateful heart, and I was completely present to do so.
Okay. Thank
Givers
you
and
Anita, for
takers.
saying that. That's very, very sweet. No, I struggle just like everyone else.
Yeah, we all struggle. Yeah, we all do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you do present yourself that way. You do present yourself. You have more of a pragmatism. You are very,
I am super pragmatic and kind of blunt too. But I mean, loving and kind, but just kind of like the sense of justice. And my husband used to in the past always call me a prophet, because I was like, no, it has to be this way.
Oh, you're black and white then.
Well, no, I just have this strong sense of justice, I guess. And you can't I don't know. No, we don't need to get into it. It was great advice, by the way.
What number are you on the Enneagram?
I don't know.
Okay. I will swear to God, I'll give you $12 to take that test so I can call out what number you are.
I think I'll do it.
Because you are right in line. I would love to see that. So if anybody hasn't taken the Enneagram, I mean, it blows away any other personality test. It's really, really cool.
Do you just go online to do it?
EnneagramInstitute.com, and it's like $12. I've taken it 4 times and it's never been wrong. I'm like, oh.
I've done the Strengths Finder. That was super interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting too. But this one, you literally will sit down and just want to eat it up. You will not believe how accurate it is unless you're in denial.
Cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it in 2020.
Okay, I'm going to put this on
Thank
here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, Enneagram. I typed it in. Why do I keep pretending I don't have glasses? Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Shannon. Yeah. And the other thing is this too. And someone had made mention that Facebook doesn't let anybody see anything and stuff like that. Yeah, they're really, really monitoring that. I mean, I can have one post that has all kinds of engagement and the next one, nothing at all. And I'm like, what did I post about vaccines or something? I mean, what the heck's going on here? So there are limits on that. And that's the other thing we need to remember too, is that, we're not the only ones in charge of what's happening. It is technology, it is social media, and there are other people controlling our lives out there. So, but again, so let's just go back. We got a few more minutes, and let's just stick with the topic one more time of fear. And when people say, I'm afraid I don't know enough, I'm afraid that I'm not going to show up, I'm not going to be healthy enough, I'm afraid that someone's going to ask me a question I don't know the answer to. That's one of the number one things I get. I'm not going to go live because if I go live, someone's going to ask me something I don't know the answer to. And I can't do that. That's too much for me. But here's the question. If that's one of your fears, is if you get live and someone says, what do you know about estrogen dominance? And you don't know anything about it. You get to say, I don't know. I don't know. I did a live on this one time, or a blog, or I did something on it. But it was like the 3 little words that could be stopping your progress in your business is having the fear of telling someone that you don't know something. We are not here to know it all. We are health coaches, okay? Even doctors don't know it all. And when they think they do, have a health coach show up and talk about the endocrine system with them and watch their eyes glaze over when they know nothing about it. That happened to me twice when I was health coaching. You know, I got rejected by a practitioner. He's like, I don't want you in my business talking about health because it's going to look like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. No offense to you, but I don't even know what the thyroid does at this point. I'm like, holy shit, right? So what I'm saying to you is that when we have fear and we put irrationalities around it, like I don't know enough, or I don't look the part, or I have too many problems, you know, all of that, the reality is that fear is coming from something else. And we always have to chase it down. We have to go after it. We have to find it, kick its ass, and then come back into grown-up land and then show up as you are. That's the recipe for success in health coaching. Hands down, drop your guard, share your story, show up as you are. Remember that you're just a person. You don't have to be perfect. And I can tell you, you're going to attract the sick people. You are. I mean, I've done it. You know, I did a presentation. I did a month-long group coaching program at a CrossFit gym. And I talk about this one all the time because it was so much fun. Oh my God, the mistakes I made. Woo! But people came to that CrossFit gym that just to be a part of what they named it a nutrition series. I don't use that word, and I didn't name it that, but that weren't working out there. And you know, one of the things I said, I was afraid to show up at this gym because I know people are really, really healthy here. And I said, yeah, they're also obsessed. So, you know, you're going to have the ones that don't know anything about exercise, and you're going to have the CrossFit cult people over here. We're all just people, and we all feel a certain way. We're all just trying to achieve optimal health and be healthy people, right? So whatever one person's fear is, another person has something that's just as irrational, but it's still fear all the same. You know, the CrossFitter that lifts weights for 2 years to reach that one deadlift max, woo! And then the person who's afraid to go walk to her mailbox in her shorts because her legs have cellulite. Come on. These are the people out there, you guys, that are looking for help. They have problems, beyond problems, no matter what their outside looks like. So if we don't show up as who we are, we're not going to be able to find them, right? So, all right, what does Anita say? And then I got to wrap up. I got to go get my kiddo. I feel like everyone else knows what I know, and even more, even though I know it's not true. But there's something inside of you that doesn't know that that's not true, because you wouldn't say that if you did. You just contradicted yourself in one sentence. It's what we do. I know I'm good enough, but I'm not. That's what we say. Oh, I know that my hair is beautiful today, but it looks terrible. I mean, come on, right? We can say one thing, and inside of ourselves, we're saying another. We're not going to convince ourselves into being good enough. We have to truly believe and know that to be true. And the only way to do that is to undo the old crap that we were taught that we never got what we wanted. You know, and it's not heavy. It's hard, but it's not heavy stuff. And we shouldn't be afraid to do it and talk about it and go after it and support each other and lift each other up and do all of those things that helps us heal. Because every person that comes into our life is someone that's meant to be there for our greater good, right? I mean, I love to say this, you know, because of the dysfunctional craziness of my relationship, the guy that I've been dating for over a year now, I've been separated for a long time. So I didn't date him while I was married, just FYI. But we have conversations where I bring hard stuff up, and I can tell that it's hard for him. You know, I see the uneasiness, and I always say, is it okay if we have a conversation? Are you open to having a conversation? Can you be present for about 5 minutes so we can talk about something, right? So it's not that we want to fire hose people with our problems and our fears and to get over our stuff. Part of the process of asking for someone to receive us, hold space for us, be our person, is to ask them if it's okay. So when you start this journey of discovery or finding out, you know, where did the problem come from? Where's this pain coming from? Or I need somebody to be my person, ask them, is it okay if I take a moment? And, you know, when in the most recent conversation, I said, I have these triggers from my childhood and you have yours. And, you know, I see when yours happen and I tell you when mine happen, and you probably see them too. So what I want you to know is that when I'm working on something and I trigger you, I see you. I see you, and I'm here to receive whatever you need to say. And I know that it's not mine to carry, right? So if we can do that with each other and own our own stuff and be autonomous people, coming together in friendships, relationships, work relationships, whatever it may be, it becomes really exciting. It becomes an adventure. What can I learn from this relationship, right? That's what this is all about. We've disconnected ourselves from the whole damn world. But what we should be doing is connecting and being authentic and vulnerable and real so that we can really learn how to help each other. So, okay, I'm going to go get my kid. I'm going to share some exciting news with him about the football game and all the good stuff. And I hope everybody's enjoying this. I'm going to continue Coffee with Carmen into the new year because I love this organic conversation style and being able to make just, you know, really make connection with you guys. And webinars, I also got told webinar every week, and this is your topic, and this is this. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this instead. So any feedback you guys want to share, you can send it to our my email. Actually, I'm going to give you my email, carmenhunterhealth@gmail.com. So if you're enjoying this, I'd like to know. And let me know if you have topics. Anytime you see it, register and have questions, or you want to do some hot seat stuff like Chris and I did, and Maria and I, let me know, and I'm happy to walk through and give you guys some guidance. Okay? Yay! All right. Happy holidays and all that stuff, unless we have one scheduled for next week, which I can't see on my calendar right now. But I hope to see you guys back again. Have an amazing day. Bye, everybody.